Here with us now in New York, USA Radio Network chief political correspondent and Donald Trump supporter, Scottie Nell Hughes. Scottie, thanks for being here today.
Good morning.
Coming off of Giuliani's piece, now Donald Trump has lauded his unpredictability, particularly in this arena. What do you make then of the criticism as a man who has said he's derived a lot of his own foreign policy from reading newspapers, a man who also says, I know more about foreign policy than anyone else? It's something that's now receiving a lot of criticism in GOP circles. What do you make of it and how it plays nationally?
Well, but look at the people that are now endorsing him. Look at the people that are joining his foreign policy team. That is the one thing Mr. Trump is good at, is he surrounds himself by people that seem to be very knowledgeable in the area. And if he sat there, and you have to realize this is all about strategy, the art of the deal. And if he would have come out initially and said, here's my foreign policy team, here's everything, and just given us basically a buffet of things all at once, guess what? It wouldn't be the headlines for longer than 48 hours. If you notice, he's giving everything in small little bites for people to understand, to critique, to talk about, but to most importantly, take the headline. And that's what he's done since July, since June. He announced he's always in the headlines. And for that, that's a winning concept. That is something that the Republican Party has never had. It's called strategy and how to win a national election come November.
It's a strategy, however, that the New York Times Ed Board called contradictory and shockingly ignorant.
Well, that's the New York Times. I mean, let's look at their circulation being down. They're not necessarily they're not as reputable as I would say you are in your journalistic skills. You're going to get criticism. These aren't people that are going to be fans no matter what he says. So you have to kind of put that in the area, in the category that it is. I care more about what people feel like, and obviously the people at this point are largely supporting Mr. Trump on the GOP side. Once we get into a general election, then we're going to see how the people feel and how confident they are. But the most important thing when it comes, I think, to foreign policy and national security is trust, is the feeling that they're going to be able, what he says he's going to do. And that's why people are resonating with Mr. Trump's message.
Okay, so by people you do mean voters.
The general voters,
right.
The general electorate.
And so we're also seeing, however, something of a disconnect between perhaps delegates come Cleveland time and the general electorate. I want to also ask you, though, today we expect to see Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker make an endorsement. It's expected to be Ted Cruz. If that comes to pass, does the lack of endorsement among the GOP base in terms of its representation, does that become a concern?
I don't know if it's necessarily the base or the establishment, and nobody had better endorsements than Senator Marco Rubio. And guess what? He's still a senator and not in the race. What we are learning about this campaign, it's not about necessarily the names that are aligned to view of politicians. That's why Donald Trump is so popular, is an anti-establishment, anti-politician mode. So when you look at these delegate counts, yes, there's going to be a battle. We're still confident and optimistic that Mr. Trump is going to have a 1237. But you have to realize why these folks are endorsing. Governor Walker has said from the very beginning that he did not like Mr. Trump, that he needed to take Mr. Trump out from the day he announced that he was getting out of the race. This is not a surprise. What is a surprise is none of these guys are saying that they're going to pledge their loyalty to Senator Ted Cruz at the convention on the second or third ballot, if it gets to that point, or the general. They are basically the Trojan horse, and they're looking for Ted Cruz to ride them into this convention.
But if Donald Trump does not get to 1237, he will at some point, won't he, have to pivot from an air of confrontation and from wrapping himself in the votes of the general electorate to one of cooperation in corralling the delegates necessary to become the nominee.
Yeah, this is where this gets to play politics. He's going to have to play a chess move. That's why you do have people like Senator Jeff Sessions. You do have those that are in politics that are getting behind him, and he is bringing on people. And let me ask you, isn't it sad that this is the game that we're going to have to play with this? That you can't necessarily go into the ballot box and vote for the person because that's who you believe is best. Instead, what you're seeing the establishment Republicans do, play this chess game with the electorate. And I think that's why people don't have a general trust in D.C. today, because they feel like they've been played and they feel like everything has become too political. And it's not just the honest path of when I go and vote for somebody, the person who gets the majority of votes is the person elected.
But it is the way it has always been. And it also seems that it is now a game that Donald Trump himself is willing to play. He has now hired Paul Manafort, a man with expertise navigating a contested convention. What to make of Manafort's hiring by Donald Trump?
That I think he's getting all of his insurance plans in place in case he does not get that magic number of 1237, and that's very true. And I think it's great. I'm very excited that he's bringing him onto his team. You do have to be prepared, but here's what people are missing. If we go into a contested election, what you're going to see are these backroom deals. You're going to be seeing these slots, these promised points to governors for money, for senators for appropriation. That is not how Mr. Trump plays. And so, you know what? I'm really optimistic, but at the same time, I'm kind of scared if we do go into it, because in the end, if you go to a second and third ballot, you are going to see such divisiveness.
What do you think will happen?
Anger.
Contested convention in Cleveland, what happens?
If we go into a contested convention, I still think Donald Trump ends up emerging, but I think we're going to have to deal with the problem. Is going to be right after we have to turn around and go against the Democrat machine, which is phenomenal. People continue on the Republican side to forget how amazing of that machine is. When they elected Barack Obama, not once but twice, they underestimate it. And so my fear is that we're going to be so divided. It's going to be hard to unite people behind whoever that candidate is to go against the Democrats. They do a great job of rallying behind their front runner. Republicans, we stay home, as we've learned in the past election.
Well, it would appear that Donald Trump would have gotten a hang of the chess come Cleveland. Scottie Nell Hughes, we appreciate the time today.
Thank you.